Namo Gurube Namo Buddhaya Namo Dharmaya Namo Sanghaya Namo Gurube Namo Buddhaya Namo Dharmaya Namo Sanghaya Namo Gurube Namo Buddhaya Namo Dharmaya Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing generosity and the other far-reaching attitudes, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing generosity and the other far-reaching attitudes, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing generosity and the other far-reaching attitudes, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. Give it just a moment. When we do the recitations, and this includes on Mondays as well, the sound is a little bit is impacted sometimes, and I think that might have to do with multiple mics at the same time, or multiple lanyard mics. Anyhow, it doesn't happen when we speak, so after the recitation, so please don't worry about that. I'm addressing this because there's a comment in the chat there about the sound, but yeah, hopefully it's not an issue as we move forward. Last week, we covered verse 7. If you turn quickly to page 35 in the text, you'll see both the root text and then the commentary, Geshe's commentary. And so to give everyone kind of a brief recap, verse 7 emphasized the generation of bodhicitta. And then if you look into the main body of the text, or the main commentary on page 38 and 39, there's sub-sections which focus on the methods for developing bodhicitta. And then this includes the 6 causes and 1 result, along with equalizing and exchanging self for others. So these were, this was the essential and main topic of verse 7. Today, hopefully everyone had the opportunity to read the commentary in verse 8, and you'll see that on page 47, 47 to 49. So hopefully everyone had the chance to read that individually, and then we'll be moving forward today through verse 8. However, if you do have any questions or anything you would like to discuss in the previous verses and commentary, please feel free to share as well. There are one or two specific mentions in the resource texts that we've been using for the sake of this session, and because of the way that we've been working with the root of the foundation of all good qualities as our main text of reading. I've been using the term supplemental texts for the great treatise on the sage of the path to enlightenment, and also the liberation in the palm of your hand, but they are actually the root references in a lot of Geshe's commentary itself. So please understand that when I refer to the other texts as supplementary or kind of a side text to help support and emphasize what we're reading in the foundation of all good qualities, I don't mean that it is a secondary or a lesser text of any kind, of course, but there are one or two specifics that we're hoping to share that has to do with some of the commentary at the very end there. But before we do that, as per usual, we would like to offer everyone the opportunity to raise questions and discuss anything in terms of the topic of what we read, what you were hopefully able to read in verse 8. But before we do, let us read the root verse together. Verse 8 on page 47. If this resolve is created, yet habituation in the three ethics is lacking, enlightenment cannot be achieved. Realizing this fully, bless me to train in the bodhisattva precepts with strong enthusiasm. So we can start off by mentioning something, and again, certain points that come up in discussion too can sometimes depend on the translation of the certain text we're using, and everything's valid. Please don't be afraid to mention anything. But something that we did notice, if you look at the commentary on 48 at the very beginning there. So in the second line of the root verse, yet habituation in the three ethics is lacking. So the three ethics that Geshe has explained in the commentary are the three moralities: the morality of abstaining from misdeeds, the morality of involving ourselves in the welfare of others, and the morality of engaging in virtuous deeds. So when it comes to the three types, or the three categories, there are many different ways that they can be compiled. And so for this specific mention by Geshe, it is very much in alignment with the three types of moral discipline or ethical discipline when we say, when we sit there and we categorize the three different types, it is very much in line with the actual mention of the three types of ethical disciplines, as opposed to, let's say, the three ethics as self-emancipation, bodhisattva, and tantra, per se. When you look at it, and even in the dictionary, a Tibetan English dictionary, it comes up as there's like different sets of three, and so the one that Geshe is mentioning here is very much in line with is the same as the three types of ethical disciplines that are mentioned when going through, for example, out of the six perfections, the perfection of morality. So yeah, that was something that came up between Geshe and I when going through some of the commentary here. Give me just a moment. Please feel free to go ahead and text in the box if you'd like. Apologize. Okay, let's see. So, is there anything? Do we have any questions in regards to? Oh. Oh, okay. Well, we have one question. Tanji. So let me read it. It reads, do we need to practice these three types of ethics in the order presented? Tani, tanadi surim isum sharwa. Din ani kurim shindu, sungdan sharwa. Di kurim shindu ani tos anyamne cheguina sum sharwa. Yapangri chendu stroguina sumana shi kurim sharwa. Tayangela ya jigarwa. Tagengani. Gyawa chudida. Ani karingo. Gyawa chudida. Nyeju domata. Gyawa chudida. Ora, tadagi.
Tesungla yi jimiji korin da yomare.
Yomarwa.
Tesungla yi jimiji korin ke yomare. Kaisana ali tangbo kanzul de kuwa ndo chishe narwa. Nyeje dombi tsuchin se de dire ta zo do de na mo go ju won tsuchin che. An ta na shingi ma zo sus ta ri dun yorwa.
Ora.
An zo getsu ni gelong pana getsu pana gelong pana. Ni ni go ma la su mi de na zo sutaro de ma chishe yorwa. Te nyeje dombi tsuchin se de zo de.
So, do we need to practice these three types of ethics in the order presented? No, we do not specifically. It's important to know that there are three and what those three are, but is it a chronological order of practice? No, not necessarily. But if we do, for a moment, look into, and for this point, I'm going to refer to the Great Treatise on the Sages of the Path to Enlightenment. For those of you who have it on hand, I'm looking at page 140. 148. So the 3 divisions of ethical discipline, and then for this the part that I'm reading here actually is within the chapter on the perfection of ethical discipline in the lam-rim Chamo, and it reads, and these are the same 3 that I mentioned here. They are the 3 divisions of ethical discipline: the ethical discipline of restraint, the ethical discipline of gathering virtue, and the ethical discipline of acting for the welfare of living beings. So these 3 can be practiced in any order, but just so everyone has a general idea, the ethical discipline of restraint involves both individual liberation vows, as they're known as, or self-emancipation vows, self-liberation vows, and then also bodhisattva vows, and guarding those vows, not transgressing them, as mentioned here in Geshe's commentary. If you look at the bottom of page 48, the last paragraph there, Tsultim is defined as the will to protect. So protecting the vows, upholding the vows, and then refraining from transgressing them. So the next one is the ethical discipline of gathering virtue. And this one is the most broad of the 3, because it's understood, or meant to be understood, that any virtue falls within this category. So even the ethical discipline of restraint itself can be considered included in the ethical discipline of gathering virtue, because in doing so you are accumulating virtuous deeds. And so any virtuous deed that gives rise to merit that has not been accumulated or has not been born before, and then that maintains that merit and that helps that merit flourish, any of the above would fall under the ethical discipline of gathering virtue. I use merit there, but merit can also be understood as virtue. I think I should actually go with virtue as used here in the text. So it reads, the ethical discipline of gathering virtue means that you focus on virtues such as the 6 perfections, and then develop the virtues that you have not developed in your mind. Do not spoil the ones that you have already developed, and increase both of these ever further. So it's understood in that way. And then the third, the ethical discipline of acting for the welfare of living beings, is the discipline that is encompassed in bringing benefit and helping others. 맞아.
아니 뒤에 띵도 아니 가서 있다 기와 추들 수진세야 되는 가서 기와 강인 받는 데 제로와 사진 줄라서 상주 생리가 태워진 걸 아죠라 안티 맞아고 제버 공의 공도 배워 도스자 아니 뒤 제리야 아니 뒤에 정주 있으니 주만 생주 건 오늘 아니 신제장을 단 제발라서 신제장으로 받쳐라서 받는 제모이나 아니 공의 도스치는 방이제는 약속이야. 딱이 오늘 뒤에 지당
And so what we just shared was kind of a general outlay, so you to give one a little bit more a better insight. But let's say a different. If you look at kind of the starting point of practice, or what the practice would actually look like, for example, would be to start with the discipline or the ethical discipline of abandoning the 10 non-virtues. And then from there, one would focus on the ethical discipline or the discipline of practicing the 6 perfections. And then and then the last would be benefiting others and helping others through the generation of bodhicitta. So when it comes to the actual practice and engaging in these 3 types of moralities, that's the order that you could kind of think of it in. Generally speaking, when we're talking about these 3, you can go about it in any order, but when it comes to this kind of step-by-step practice, it would be presented in that kind of order. Is there? Oh, sorry. Okay. I hope that was helpful. If there's any misunderstanding, it's surely my fault. Jampa's still working on the translating skills. But anyways, yes. Are there any other questions or anything one would like to discuss in terms of what we've been going through? Yes, please. Yes, can we have the second mic as well? It's nice to get it going so that everyone can hear.
So, which one of the 3, I'm assuming the first 2, would concentration fall under? It would be at the same time refraining from distractions, which is a negativity, and at the same time concentration, probably you're concentrating on a virtuous object, so it would land in the first 2. But does concentration, is that only emphasized when you get into like the perfection of concentration, or is that, how important is that in the foundational, just keeping the moral discipline? How important is the concentration in relation to practicing moral discipline? Because my understanding is it begins with moral discipline, then concentration, then the wisdom. So, yeah.
So, so I'm sorry, that last part you said.
Yeah, so I'm
so
basically
it would probably be the basis, or it would come first.
I'm basically asking, like, throughout the entire practice, how important is concentration or non-distraction?
Sure.
Because the way it's set up is like it's in the middle. You know, it's not.
Right.
It doesn't really tie.
Right.
How does it tie into the
Right.
foundational
Right.
aspect of moral discipline.
Right. Just so kind of I have a better understanding, were you referencing concentration in general, or were you were you talking about concentration in the context of meditation?
Well, isn't it really sort of the same thing? I'm mainly talking about non-distraction. If something is distracting, you know, does that make it more clear?
Sure. What is the word? Concentration la di sama things in your weapon. Something things inside something la darwa. Something project ro chashan darwa. Tani kanji the something in a rete timingi. Tanya dus kujidwa. Ani pananga chik lo dim chigar bada tenshi tenya sharo. Tenshi tenya ro sharo bada. Pila har chebin chawa har zomin. Or the mixing that the nyamlengi big chebikabli yada. Rwa. Tadi chazana chabarshi kugi mar vesta. Chik tenshi jimaten ko chawa har shugi kewa har tugi. Nyaba har oya tamiga har sagi. Di ling marwas. Severshing ngunsen tu marwas. Di chazana yachik mazmas. Yeah. Larger solution. Chazana kikugi marwas. Kizi yimba ina. 아니 단도 고른 pen 파진 투나는 penani sam데디 기스와 리그도스 아니 지 차선에 키야 되는 마르베스 아니 개체를 가서 지기에 나스라 아니 so that 지 sam데인 시네미도 the tension 시네미도 간제디 non distraction of this mother 지 나이 멤버 어 딘지 간제 개체를 가서 시나스 서로와
알다디고라
or
알디드스 파진 응아디 지난 공인디 소야디 하망하망 하 치마치마 차이면 송스로 차라 되잖아 이제 단단히 차라게 제대로도 하망하망 하 치마치마 까요 인사 아니 그런 공인도 송여라 노드잖아 원래 지난 나는 치면 막 장셔여라 좋은 노드잖아 세월이라 파진 tru도 공인 송당셔라 하망하망 하요 레스 치마치마 아니 데스 갈리카요 레딘산 차라에 보니 공인 셰다 있으라
just to address that portion of your question that included like the 6 perfections where concentration comes second last, right? Just for you to understand, within that context of the 6 perfections, concentration is specifically the 5th, because the 4 that preceded are, it's an order of not easy and difficult. That makes it sound a little bit mundane, but as you progress through the 6 perfections per se, each practice becomes a little bit, each perfection is a little bit tougher than the previous one. So so that order that's mentioned in many texts, including the Ornament of Sutras by the great Maitreya. There is emphasis and explanation on the order. And one of the explanations is that because of each perfection is more difficult than the one that precedes it. And so there's a reason why within those 6, if you think about what they are, concentration is the 5th.
다다나 그런 concentration 나데 삼된 라이지도 삼된 라이는 가서 전시 댄스 참만한 가서 일단 삼된 투나는 삼된 디디 전시 댄스도 쓰고 말이다. 가서 단다 삼된 세야디 삼된 것이디 오늘 전에 삼된 것이고 대응할 신이 고고를 신이 토차위제의 신이 삼된 것이 삼된 세야디 레고라다 가서 오늘 전에 이내한테 수 참만한 가서 삼된 것이 오늘디 가르쳐고 신이 그런 토상을 보고 그러다 신이 토차위제의 신 삼된 것이 도고로 다나가서 남는 something good 세야디 something 세야디 가서 신이 당 뜻을 이체부터 제베데 공정글도 뜻이요. 가서 뒤중당 삼중인 할 진짜 디제를 신 공정 용어와 모두 공정 들었습니다.
And so when it comes to the specific mention of the perfection of concentration, this is a concentration that is to be understood as a concentration that is developed after having already attained a calm abiding, shine, right? And so I think this, when we talk about the perfection of concentration, or I'm sorry, right? Perfection of concentration, it's not to be necessarily understood as a general level of concentration or a general non-distraction. It's one that is specific. I think, what is the term? Never mind, it's okay. Sorry, I was going to bring up a term, but I thought that might be a incorrect translation, so we'll skip that. But anyways, but understand that this is a special level, a very deep level of concentration that comes after the generation of calm abiding. So this concentration that's being mentioned in terms of this perfection of concentration is meant to be understood in the realm of meditation, like deep meditation. So meditative concentration. And when we talk about calm abiding, as mentioned in calm abiding, introspection, special insight. Shamatha, right? Right? Same thing, yes. Shamatha. Kodi leksha kinsar. Kamba inji gyuro, inji sikro. Shamatha is the leksha kinsar. Right? So shamatha, I think, is the Sanskrit term, right? And then calm abiding is our English translation. Is that like a common one? I'm sure there's more than one, but okay, yeah. So let's go with shamatha. So shamatha can be understood as a concentration, a state of concentration where you are able to focus on a single object. And then Geshe mentioned a specific mention in tantric texts of 4 hours of maintaining concentration on a single object for 4 hours. That would be a sign of having attained or developed shamatha. And then also, this state would be, in this state, what is generated is known as bliss of body and mind, right? Bliss, yes. Appliancy, in the body and mind. Thank you. Yes. 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 Yes.
I don't know if you were referencing this, Joseph, but I kind of heard, like, when he was saying non-distraction, there's a lot of people in the West, in the context of psychology, have presented with what's now being called ADHD, where the mind jumps a lot. And because the mind jumps a lot, the emotions jump a lot. And because that's jumping, and the mind is jumping, and the emotions are jumping, people tend to have problems completing tasks. Therefore, you cannot complete a virtuous task.
Right.
And they have problems with relationships, with a lot of behavioral issues come up,
Yes.
but because it's around this we're not even close to Shinny, okay? We're
Yes.
just trying to like just stay
Yes,
here
yes,
and just
yes.
finish one task.
Yes.
So a lot of people are struggling with that, and a lot of behavioral issues are now being talked about, and to have compassion for the people who's this type of concentration is a big problem for them. To develop. Is that
Yes.
what you are referencing? Just or did I just take it in a whole other way?
By non-distraction,
Yeah.
I guess I was referencing like the mental factor. I think it's a mental factor,
Yes.
and just within the training,
Yes.
I feel like once one overcomes like the strong attachment, the next thing will be the distraction. And so, not necessarily in the context of this perfection of concentration, but just, I'm not sure really, just trying to really solidify, you know, so that one doesn't backslide in one's practice anymore.
Yes. Are you sure? The kanji, what samjung? Ishabadi, sigu laswa. Mental factor samjung marawa. Mental factor samjung na kisi. Kanji di shabadi sidi ta. Tagi chishsan so ta pamen chishsan sa. Kanji odi di toju, kanji nri hot kana chance. Kanji, ani ko sawe sharwa. Ali tanda tingon jo samdian ta ani shini kechi membership. Jiyong ge dachi chance tenya ro sharwa. On Rua? Yes. So, in the context of, maybe we can say maybe the wider scope of concentration and non-distraction. Yes, a simple answer to your question initially was yes, it's very important. And when it comes to the actual action of concentration or non-distraction, we can think about two factors. The first, yes, mindfulness and introspection. So they're two separate things, two separate entities, and mindfulness. So basically, focus understanding on the object, and then introspection being, let's say it's an action, right? Let's say a virtuous action, with the mind concentrating and focusing on that action, and then introspection being the one that evaluates whether, what kind of action that is, whether it's virtuous or not.
Is this within the context of like sitting down and meditating, or as we're going throughout the day? Because that's where I really find like something goes wrong and I'm not really sure. Just going throughout the day, and then when I return back, it's super difficult to sit.
Yeah, I mean, I would think it was in both contexts, but yes. The sugorani, the tension tension, the mixer chip that my day, the com de vocabulary, yanchik, Pazuto de vocabulary, Nigasi word, Katina Sura. So yeah, in both, in all aspects of our day, and then it's also more important to remember, and we've mentioned this before, Jampa has mentioned it multiple times, that when we use the term meditation, we have this kind of preconception or pre-image of sitting down, and but it's not limited to that. states, when we're engaging in any activity, moving around, sitting, so on and so forth, the meditation can be practiced as well. And so either if you're sitting in our usual understanding of meditation, or whether you are out and about and at work or come home, this mindfulness and introspection is meant to be incorporated in one's practice as well. But let me bring up that point you mentioned where, did I understand it correctly? Where like when you're outside and then it's almost like you're drifting away from that, and then when just in the hustle bustle of it all, you kind of lose a little bit of the bearings of that concentration or of that non-distraction. Is that? Oh yeah. 아니, 파주 조대 갑라 단지 출로 죽으러 왔어. 다 상생 길로 죽으러 왔어. 인터넷 갑라 야직 단 전시 때한테 뭐 예, 싫어. 용의 매월스다. 지금 남이 슈시모 연구 예, 초르스도 왔어.
이 때나 주로의 상승이들 또 메다보 공부이나 메다바다나서 동동반이라든지 주나 요랑 신경으로 거기에는 수수 간통어디 재미있으니까 대신 상승이 신지자들 그걸 메다보 공부되고 싶어요. 그래서 그때 다지어라 다이는 미마우지 신자게는 뭐라 마고 싶어도 되서 그때간에 메다보 공부에나 아마서 tempis induzane karso gonja desana gonja yagi dichiyorwa danga mabu shoyora ta na shunora ta chulu le dinde sanga singi yodesane medabu goya to tonye goya richiyorwa de zile la shudo jo ane tanda shini gonja ma so yogon che joro yogon che de da ko yan tes ji so so ni se ya thole ba ina ne ko kando no gon thura no ni se thu ma le nge chi na so ma shin le tong bo chi na ko ran che sa cha pon sa bo ji goya da ane ji shini 초된 셔저들 송체가 당아서 출로도 되잖아요. 전시신 대야리 지면데 어디서 전시신 대야 지금 메다고 선로 근데 뭐면 근데 뭔데요? 간선 파기 체시 코란 상승이나 코란랑 그 메다베 조이 나바디 하고 보여라. 아주 칼라사는 칼라 테니바디 마산 그래서 동부대에서 한 뉴바디 서로시온 동부 저도 보여. 그 메다베 나바인 것도 그 세워 찬도 공부지 배워야나. 아주 공부 찍 배워야나. 뉴바디 코라 파기 조도 배워 하고 버려서 되는 거 뭐도 좋다. 지 자시로 나눠서 치 베트코는 로샤냐도 주나 상노도 자첸다 동반이 리빈나로 타이브는 송도 되게 돈이나 된데다 돈이다 뭐다고 가리 수수리가 키토지게.
So one thing that might be helpful in these moments, and we're bringing this into a kind of an aspect of daily activity, is to start off with the concept. Let's say when you enter the fray, I'm going to use that term, right? Step outside. Okay, it's no longer in these serene, silent walls. You're now entering the fray. If you go out and enter the hustle bustle with the concept in mind, for example, Geshe mentioned impermanence. If you keep that in mind, and then use that almost as a pillar or an anchor for your mindfulness and introspection, it might be easier to, and it might help ease the feeling of being distracted or losing your grip on non-distraction. And if you bring that, because it's very practical, it's something that lines completely with everything that's going on around you. People are moving, there's sounds, sights, all these things coming and going. And so if you apply that to all the experiences that you're going through, in your external environment, because they line up so well, and because they're so relevant and so associated to each other, that can be a way of keeping that reinforcing exactly. And then also, obviously, impermanence, emptiness, these kinds of very expansive and broad ways of looking at phenomena can be applied, again, to reinforce and to support be mindfulness and introspection.
더 토마토 공 가고요. 이마 지 나가라. 대상가 생이 지는 레와 테마 지스니 이제 요 스탠토가 있는 로카시 제라 뉴런 스탠토 지는 되는 가디가디 제는 이마 지 주저니 시사시 제자 주저니 시사시 나가라. 가망안 주는 이슈 가지 바고도 소소 생한도 때문에 흘러흘러지 또 바고이나 바산지 레드데 주저니 시사시가 나가라. 마차로 이제 소소 상반하신기 상도 된도야. 신디 된도야.
And so it's obviously not easy as beginners to be as stable as we would like to be in our practice of mindfulness and introspection. However, with practice over time, you'll be able to extend and solidify and stabilize that practice. You'll see yourself starting small, maybe for a few moments, and then a few moments become a few minutes, and then those become extended periods of time, and so after practice, you'll start to see that improvement. Obviously, as beginners, what we just shared with you is something that we can do on the day-to-day. When it comes to like shamatha and placement meditation, that's something that us as beginners would actually need, a good conducive environment for, silence, sitting on a cushion, all of the above, free from distraction, free from noises, free from, danger, so on and so forth. If someone was on a very deep level of practice, they could, maintain that same kind of placement meditation if they were to go out and engage in other activities. However, for us, we would need, all these beneficial and conducive causes and conditions for us to actually start properly practicing and mastering placement meditation. But in terms of just keeping up and building one's practice of mindfulness and introspection, this is meant to be done in all aspects of one's day. And Geshe mentioned that Nagarjuna specifies incorporating emptiness into all actions of one's day, whether it be sitting, moving about, going around, engaging in different activities. It's meant to be carried in one's practice, in one's mind, as you go through, as you engage in any activity. So hopefully that opens up a bit of an opportunity in our minds in terms of engaging in practice. Yes.
There's nothing to do with the practice, but theoretically, actually, what it's interesting what you're saying, because in fact there is a notion, and Jerry Rinpoche talks about that, how all the perfection should be practiced simultaneously. For example, I forget what the term is exactly, right? It's in there. So when you practice, for example, morality, you have to practice generosity, concentration, all of them. So it's interesting. I don't know if you're aware of that, but that's exactly what it is. Yeah, this is the way one should practice, right? You know what I'm talking about? You have to practice each perfection within all of them simultaneously, right? Yes. You want to practice generosity, practice concentration, morality, patience, effort, and wisdom. So this is the way to practice them all. No. Yes, of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, when you're doing, for example, you're practicing generosity, you're giving something, you're focusing on that. You're not thinking. That's a practice of concentration. Yeah. Same with morality, or for example, ethical discipline. You avoid generating negative states of mind. If somebody says, "I don't want this," what you're giving me, you don't get angry. That's practicing patience. And so all of them could be incorporated. I'm not sure what the term, I forget what the term is. Yeah, all of them, not only wisdom. That's a fundamental thing. Yes, yeah, no. Okay, see, that's why he made the distinction between.
Yeah, Pam just texted me.
Actually, like very nice
see
to use
how
like
he
this.
made the distinction between the very beginning between shamatha and the concentration. So you don't need shamatha in order to practice that. Yeah, shamatha meaning, you know, having achieved the access concentration. You don't need that. Another thing is, you mentioned that you need to first eliminate attachment and then concentration, or distraction. Okay, but they're not on the same level. The distraction is caused by attachment. Attachment is the cause of distraction. Okay, so if you eliminate attachment, you eliminate distraction. Actually, that's what happens in the process. You eliminate excitement. Excitement is attachment, which causes the distraction.
Is it true, Geshe Kunchok, what he says?
Yes, the mention of the practice of the practice of the 6 perfections, or each practice, all including all 6, is definitely one that comes up in the text, in the main body of the text that we, yes, yes. Yes, of course, yes. Yeah, I mean, Geshe and I were brought up in Parchin, Kurup Sudi. Yeah, so, yeah, the context of the one that in Parchin starts from the path of accumulation. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
But what does that mean?
Yeah, can we use the mic, please? Thank you. So this can be
Kudu.
considered.
You just mentioned the.
I'm just gonna add something for comic relief, but using the mics can be considered practicing mindfulness in itself, and kindness and compassion to those online. So please, yes. So that is the specific term used to use as the name of this practice, where basically in each perfection you're taking in the practice of all 6 perfections. And there are examples given. Let's say in the practice of generosity, you're within that action of generosity. There's a morality involved. There is a concentration involved. There is all the others involved as well. And so there are multiple examples given, but that term is the name of the practice of what you just mentioned there.
So how do you translate that term? The term. How do you translate that term? Kudrup. How do you translate?
How do we basically make a term for what we were talking about?
In English, how does it translate in English?
Okay, let's see. We refer to good old dictionary here. He's online. He's on. Then has been offering a lot, but let me see when it comes to Sakadakarwa. It comes up as armor. 원래 고샤세. 어제 고샤를 고지랑 구분해. 고지 주바세. Hold on, but I don't know if that's accurate. Hold on. Is it? 고지 주바세. 고샤세. Really? So don the armor, but then in the context of practicing all 6 perfections within each perfection, how does that associate to armor? There's that.
되고 그래서 고시스 되잖아 가지고 있는 것들 최근에 바강에 되고 고시스
Yeah.
되잖아요.
Yeah.
고시도
So yeah, yeah, no, just kind of vaguely remember some of the mentions, but Geshe was explaining as presented in the text, the armor that protects and that dispels the hindrances, the ones that the obstacles to each perfection per se, like each individual perfection, right? So when it comes to, let's say, the perfection of generosity, you're bringing into that practice. I mean, obviously, with this armor, you're protecting yourself and you're dispelling the hindrances to that practice. And then, each one has its own, when you incorporate all the other perfections, each one has that armor, individual armor as well. So, yes. Armor, weapons or armor, having aroused the bodhicitta of Mahayana, the actions that establish the two benefits. There are different definitions here, but one is, the last one comes up as, in each of the 6 paramitas, all 6 having collected, anyways, what you mentioned there, yeah, practice within, yeah. Let's see, there was, yes.
That attachment is the cause of distraction, that they're not on the same level. So he said that first you eliminate attachment, then eliminate distraction. I said, but attachment is the cause of distraction. So if you eliminate attachment, you eliminate distraction, because in meditation, for example, one of the obstacles is excitement, and excitement is attachment to a sensual object of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
That's what excitement is, right?
Yes,
Do you
yes.
see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So attachment is the cause of distraction. So it's not like you eliminate attachment and then you eliminate distraction. No, by eliminating attachment, excitement, you eliminate distraction automatically.
So by eliminating
yes.
So by eliminating attachment, you increase your concentration. By eliminating attachment, you decrease your what did you say again?
Distraction.
You eliminate your distraction.
Yes.
And so what I'm thinking is maybe how the mindfulness and introspection comes into play is that the reason I'm not doing that is because maybe I'm just attached and that's making me lazy. So I kind of understand what he's saying, but
Yeah. Yeah. This is good. This 남이 싫어.
남이 너샤를 좋아하세요.
싫어. 아니 그게 되죠. 그 되죠. 그 시트 파 도나. 아니 남이한테 아니 또 그걸 딜레. 예. 로? 딜레는 남이 연 싫어. 전시 때 맞고 싫어. 어디 아니 그 도주 그래. 이제
너샤 방나 나와라.
더 되죠 방나. 로? 더 되죠 강요 요 되시게. 아니 코던데 전시 때 강에 두세 싫어. 또 전시 때 맞고 어디 아니 그게 되죠를 때는 레시고 봐. 신달라 차는 신달는 담아내서 코 담지 채용을 봐. 디 디부션 거 봐. 그래서 되죠도 맞자면은 들렸다는 지금 남이 가도 그러고 삼면 가는 아니 전시대 때 맞고 당디 강에 가지고 전시 내 뒤에 네버 쳐도 그러고 왔어. 좀
남이 너샤를 좀 잡아야지 말다. 남이 너샤를 좀 잡아야지 말다. 남이 있어야 되더라. 그 들려요. 공출제라 나요. 공출이 좀 나요. 용시우지가 된 뒤에서
Yeah, so yes, we agree that, or we're just saying that, yes, Geshe was saying that, yes, attachment could be one of the causes, but let's say, what about anger? There could be distraction from anger, or other afflictive emotions as well. So just because one eliminates attachment doesn't necessarily mean that one eliminates all distraction.
But when we talked about the excitement, when the excitement, the mind
그거는
moves,
저거.
see, this is one of the main obstacles.
그보단 좋아요.
In the factors that preclude concentration, distraction to objects of anger, they are not mentioned at all.
Yeah.
So specific, this is singled out excitement, which is the mind moving to object of some kind of attachment, pleasant object, pleasant.
유치리야. 참 들리더니 그거 계셔.
이 동물은 그거 쳐야 된다. 그래. 그래. 지난 그거 세죠. 그거 된도 자기 차도 인성. 내 차리 중원 인성 말이야. 내 자기 차도 인성.
So, yes, we agree with that. Generally speaking, excitement is understood to be a form of or included in attachment, not necessarily a result of attachment. So it's within the scope of the realm of attachment. And so yes, there's one thing that Geshe had mentioned that I would like to share. I think I forgot to mention it. And this is in, I think because this will answer one of the questions online too. It says, please would you repeat this technique about going outside? So we're going to talk about on the ground, So let's say, okay, we go into the fray. What we had mentioned before was cultivating within your mind the concept of impermanence. And so let's say you don't have to necessarily enter the fray like externally, outside your home. Let's say, okay, you get up from your meditation cushion and now you're going to the kitchen. You're going to fix yourself breakfast. As you eat, you can see that the second bite succeeds the first bite. Once you swallow the first spoonful, it's gone. Now you move on to the second moves to third, and within that momentary change, you can that helps again reinforce and remind oneself, and that's a way of applying and implementing impermanence into just everyday actions. So this is something I forgot to mention earlier. Hopefully this it was helpful, and then this addresses the question as well in terms of repeating what we had mentioned about going outside, and let's say bringing into one's mind stream before going outside the concept of impermanence as a means of obviously practicing meditation on impermanence, but then also reinforcing the mindfulness and introspection we have spoken about. Yes.
In other contexts as well,
Yes.
like in the 12-step program, Vlad, when people have trouble concentrating and their mind is jumping, they actually have them clean up with other people. Like they make what's called an integrity list, and you call and you apologize to people for stealing from this one, putting that one down. So it seems like ethics really impacts concentration, even though concentration impacts ethics, but it's the other way around. It has massive impact on concentration.
Yes.
A lot of these people can't stop drinking, can't stop it because they just hold this guilt and shame.
Yes.
So they gotta purify basically.
Yes.
And one of the methods in those programs is to pick up the phone and say, I'm sorry, I did this and I did that, and would you forgive me?
Yes.
And then there's other practices to forgive oneself, and then that has the mind slow down and calm down. So what does Geshe think about that?
Alle danji kejini koran sheswa sitting ever light the hello the chiun Geshe warda right also mi khashin ala jansan the semne khaji munji chigwa toina no chobe tanda tin pagi samgam gi riba no imaina ani somebody chigani chone ne matwesh düzü tungyu shush ko tsershdo ani dil letene tungmi khashi shushima nangi da nasi warda mi chobo shushima yudingesu lero chubik gozubadan chik shaya chik chobo chone lega khora chone dweme tene kangi chige sarwada 어디는 그 롭션 제대 그 롭션 제대 말을 내가 용만 내가 비두고 보다 그냥 말고 어딘지 강에 좀 아무 쉬도 쉬어스 아니 단주 근데 그 공기 저 당고 쉬어 봐 어디 뒤다 즉 저거 유명로 쉬어 그런 사회 지금 좀 직내만에 세계 쉬어 봐 어딘지 갑을 때 그런 사회 이렇게 자신 않게 쉬고 봐 이제 미지 단다 신이 주는 게 지불 그런 것이 된스 말에 사회 또 그런 실로 주기도 조장님도 가는 나이면 이렇게 시기서라 어디다 아니 저와 가지든지 단zul레이네 정말 시신 단주 야키야 요 유지를 인디케이션 나는 봐 단다 semeke 지셔 봐
근데 생각 강에 야슈로 좀 오뉴 먹어야 돼요 오뉴 먹어야 돼 벌써 심세 되죠 버치 롱도 주는 주만 도와야 돼 신디 초들라라 제가 오디 윤종이하고 시나 아니 그 남도 뭐지 나는 남이를 뭐지 가로라라 오 땅에 윤종호 시나 디가는 템버샤는 뭔가 있는데 야슈도 됐지 남도 봐야 나서 지나다는 배잖아로야 아니 뇌샤 쇼션 보이는 뇌샤 그냥 버치 못하고 나서 아니 데모 쇼션 보이는데 아니 데모 그냥 오르라 감당을 해서 아니 시당 쇼션 보이는데 내 잘못한 일이 남도 그런 거야 저도야 야슈도 되는 뜻이야 오뉴 또 생각하야
I forgot to mention what you shared about ADHD in our modern times and our understanding of it. And so Geshe Tsultim was mentioning that it's well known that focus or meditation on the breath is something that helps calm these multiple layers of conceptual storms that we have in our minds, and we're wondering if that how that's interpreted within the realm of, let's say, psychology, and his method is used for specifically for but the benefits of focusing on the breath, it tends to decrease. Yes. Right. Yes. Right.
수술 강에 가려요 그들아 그래서 배잖아 강에 수술 내고
So so depending on what the affliction is, there will be a respective antidote to that, right? And so maybe for ADHD, for example, something like this technique could be helpful. And then there's just kind of a side mentioned there. And then the anybody found this word.
You're talking about the relationship between ethics and God.
Yes, that one. Yes. The Sujim Ta Sarva. Dale Samden Senimid, Dabinet and the Transitan Shara. Takanji, a crownsu, than the Dishtu. Chipchan Arariglia, Jalan showed you mean in Yerba. Then a crown's in Yerba, crowns with the Pa Chik Chaelia. 아니 거기 근데 소바드는 봐. 지금 남들 챙겨 로봇 챙기는 봐. 아니 그런 수로 루체 아니 그런 소리야. 그래서 무슨 모자뱀 메토네. 근데 배상뱀 메토네 봐. 소수 간 초대 봐. 셰주. 그래 아니 백이 미래를 백이 나가더니 찍어버렸어. 내가 제가 직 인지민지 내가 양을 시시고 그러다 상을 시. 또 상 아니 뭐지 디시슈고 있어. 소주 맞아 샤바스서 르셔머 왜. 당연히 디체비 이디체비 콘다 세르셔머 왜. 어디 봐 신데서 말라. 디 또가 좀 왔는데. 다 수림스는 근데 간지다. 어투셔르 셔고 간지 내가 상와 간치버디 전시 때나 팽기 Woser Tagi Chua on the Simala and Tamazo give it Chawa Harujuin, Dinyam and Timber Shishin, Gijavun the Gugu Marves, Roda, Javiola. Di Gugu Layan, Gujul on the Tewina, and the Donny Tewina. Then Gio Chivata, and she Lega someone can Cheva Sherva, Tsuya, change it like nearly Yaga, Woser and a better Shashan as well. Or the crowns never the nerve, or crowns of the Nichanju server, and crowns in a collegiate charge to the younger server. Or this is quindi mala one. The woman couldn't Yabuson is Malo. So talk about mindfulness, huh? When I fixate on certain terminology, I sometimes lose the concept altogether of what I was trying to translate. But anyways, Jampa was saying that it's important to you brought up mental factors, Joseph, and it's very important to understand and be able to see the categories and to sit with them and to gain a familiarity with the categories, which ones are beneficial, which ones are good, which ones are more kind of associated towards the afflictive emotions, and you kind of know which ones to pay attention to. Obviously, pay attention to all of them, but which ones to kind of uphold, and then which ones to slowly avert. And so Jampa was saying that these are explained extensively in, I think, compendium. I was looking for compendium of Gundu. So from Arya Sangha. So is it really? Yes. Is it compendium? Like in English? In English, yeah. Is it not? I thought it was knowledge. Like in English. Is it knowledge? Compendium of knowledge? Okay. In English. In Sanskrit, it was Abhidhamma Samuksha. Yeah. Yes.
And there's another text. What is the most famous? There is a
Yes.
text by a Tibetan who explaining all the mental factors, also available online, by the way. Very, very well known. Yongzing something.
I'm sorry.
What is the most, probably the best known Tibetan commentary on the mental factors, mind and mental factors? It's a Tibetan, yes. It's in English, yeah. It's translated, it's online, you can find
Keep it down on the Yongzing, Yonzin Yishi Gyeltsen, right? Is it Yonzin Yishi Gyeltsen? Yes? Okay. Right. Alright. So Yeshua was saying that if you compare compendium of knowledge and the treasure of knowledge, right? Is that by Vasubandhu? Vasubandhu's treasure of knowledge, and then Arya Sangha's compendium of knowledge. If you kind of do a side by side, you'll see the very extensive explanations of the mental factors. And so yes, something to keep in mind in terms of study. So there is yes. Yes. So you were bringing up a Tibetan commentary. So one of the most well-known commentaries on the treasure of knowledge is by Jampa. And we're not sure if this is available in English. If his is it? It is. Oh, I see. Okay.
But you need to retire and
Mike, thank you. Mike.
It's available, Chim
Yes.
Jampa. Forget what it's called, but what I was saying that it's like 12,000 pages, short, very small shrift, and 1,200. I'm sorry, and in order to understand, you definitely have to retire and do nothing else for the rest of your life, but study.
Yeah. So Geshe was saying, "Oh, you don't have to read the whole commentary. Just the part on the mental factors." Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, is it mind in Tibetan Buddhism? Is that something? I think that His Eminence Ornish has gone through before, maybe a few years ago, or was that Geshe Punza Gyeltsen? Yeah. Or I mean, not specifically by Lather Rinpoche, but mind and mental factors. Is that a concept? Is that a topic that we've studied before here? Really? Okay. I might have thought that. Okay.
I think the book by Rinpoche,
Yes.
Geshe
Mind in Tibetan Buddhism.
gave commentary was mind in Tibetan Buddhism, not mind in mental factors.
Oh, okay.
So it doesn't include mind in mental factors.
It doesn't include.
No,
mind?
it's
Okay.
only pramana.
Oh.
It's
I see.
types of mind,
types of
how the mind knows
I see.
things.
That's Semikoinzo.
Yeah, that's what I remember. So.
But Geshe Punza had taught this, or taught from Mind of Tibet. Oh, I see,
Yes,
I see.
but he didn't actually didn't teach from the book itself.
I
He just
see.
because the commentary by Lather Rinpoche is
Right.
based on another text, and
Right,
he
okay.
only gave explanation of the text itself, which is a lot shorter than
Okay.
everything that Lather Rinpoche says. Yeah.
Really? Really? Well, thanks for the idea. This might be the one that we go through after the foundation, in terms of mind and mental factors. Yeah? Yeah. Sounds like a good idea. Yeah. Do you know of any English versions or translations readily available for mind and mental factors? Do we have any? Oh, I'm sorry?
Dr. Burson has quite.
Oh, okay.
Is available. Gyeltsen.
It is. Oh,
Yes,
I see.
it is. Yeah. And I think it's the most popular Tibetan commentary, isn't it? It's old, but it's pretty clear.
Okay.
That's available, and others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a commentary, well,
Thank you.
by Stiramati on Vasubandhu's
I see.
Summary of the 5 aggregate, 5 heaps.
I see. I
And
see.
so all of them are explained in great detail
Okay.
there.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. Is there anything else anyone would like to ask or share? No, not specifically.
Morality is said defined as the will to protect.
Yes.
Okay, now here he's talking about the morality in general, not just morality of restraint. Okay, so why is that meant? The will, does he mean the intention to protect? The will to protect, what does that mean? It's an unusual translation, that's why I'm asking.
Okay.
How would that be?
Okay.
So it's intention, right? Intention,
Yes.
but not necessarily to protect only.
To protect the soya. Tanadi.
송생 곳에 랑주부 매체 랑주부는 노드보다 생자마다 되는 추진나데 송생의 샤라와 안에 지라파와다 엄마 탄주와이는 추진세야 돼 이지미 송생이 말했어. 추진세야 돼서
Okay. Yeah. So when it comes to this term tsujim or morality, depending on the school of thought, the definition can vary. So this one that's mentioned by Geshe as the will to protect, or the mind wishing to protect, right? Or the intention to protect. Intention to. Yes. I think that works too. That is known as the definition of morality in the Chitta and Savatantrika Madhyamika schools, and then the Savatantrika Chantika and Prasangika schools accept actions, form as as morality, or the form of morality, Didn't I? Yes.
So basically, the way the mindfulness and introspection ties into the moral discipline is that as long as one isn't losing their perspective on the training, because when that's lost, one just falls into habits and then sort of backslides in the practice. So does it really matter what the object of mindfulness is, or is it more important that one is always introspective, searching for these whenever something that can be a hindrance to the practice may arise, one is dealing with that?
Is it more important to focus on a specific object, or is it more important to...
Well, what should one emphasize? Just the introspection in general? Not really, does it really matter what the object of mindfulness is?
The object of yeah. So if we, and this is as opposed to like impermanence? Or do you mean kind of on the, just in general, like generally speaking?
I suppose generally speaking. Or should one always just be thinking about impermanence?
Or, any other beneficial concept, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Right, and I think, again, Geshe emphasized impermanence because, again, it's so raw and present in the fray, or in the hustle bustle, right? And so that's why it's easier. It would probably be easiest to make that connection with the concept of impermanence rather than, let's say, I don't know, maybe something else. And so that's why Geshe mentioned that. But the 아니 코니노네스 가기 개셔르시나스 아니 찍을 미유직 심로다 찍을야 샤바나 찍을 주부터 개셔와이나 야찍 단다 잘하셔 기 여러보다 데 컨트롤샤스야지 예 디낭에 디체버티 코니 가리 개셔르시나스
아나 코니가 다 가도는 냐무고를 간선 잠바디요나 템보용으로마 템보용으로 시즌면은 거기 거기 나의 제신 뭐라 시즌세야 되고 야보지만로나 코니가 다 가도는 냐노고는 템보용으로 잠바디 조조마 지금 잠바이 신데요나 그런 마 템보진 준투도로 시즌 지부기 저도 지부 제는 샤샨 도 스테이지는 꼭 배우기 좋은 나신샤로 그는 그 템보용으로 그래서 디닝가 가도는
So they're meant to complement each other and go hand in hand. So mindfulness helps you maintain focus for a certain amount of time, for a prolonged period. It helps extend that focus, rather than it just being a very momentary focus or time that you're thinking about it. So if let's say you from here down to let's say 10th Street. If you can kind of keep that mindfulness, it'll take it there as opposed to here and then, okay, I'm done, and then you jump onto something else as soon as you cross the street here. And in terms of the introspection, obviously it's good to focus on something, but then you're focusing on it and you're maintaining that so that you can also or the purpose of the introspection is to be able to differentiate and to what's the word? To differentiate or to evaluate or to examine, what is what, and what is helpful, what isn't. So on and so forth is kind of like this. Yeah.
Conscientiousness is when the one that discriminates between what is good and what you're supposed to be doing. That's conscientiousness. That's yet another.
Okay.
But introspection is something. Introspection is something that just that's conscientiousness.
Right.
But introspection is just watching your mind while you're maintaining focus on the object and noticing when the distraction is about to arise or has a reason to stop it. That's introspection is basically introspecting watching your own mind to see if there.
Yeah. So I didn't mean to specify necessarily like good or bad. I was just looking for the right term. Geshe was using namye. We use the word namye, which means to differentiate, distinguish.
Yeah, distinguish.
Right. And so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Berzin uses the word alertness instead of introspection. I like that term personally in English.
Yeah.
Alertness. It's like an alarm that alerts you, like, oh, you're off, come back. It's alert. That's how he explained, like an alarm that like it.
Yeah.
Alertness. I like that way more than introspection. Introspection sounds a little gooey to me, in English. Just it's the language.
방유다 시신이라 개별 요리스를.
네, 봐요.
그래? 어래.
바이어런데 가되는 bodhicitta 용 말했으면 수수리지 전승해야 돼.
그래라. This is the thing. The law was something. The law was something. 정말 the law was something. 근데 그 저번에 자료에서 주지 그여서서 그래서 샤워로 디 이게 나셔 so 시신디 아니
거 잘하쟁이들어
더 잘하실 때 된다 이거 배를 샤시나 배를 샤시나 또 거기 아무래도 되는
수수신디 가르치도 다야죠 수수신디 시신이 잘하지가 되는데 소녀만 소녀서로 그러다 수수신디 가르치도 야초도 누워초도 수수 다야죠 될 시신은 바이오 세야디 도어초를 두고 있는 시전 내나 바이오 용하고 시전들이 되게라 아니 도어초를 두고요 어떤 돈이야고 말했으면 전선전도 수신 수송을 해야 될 바이오를 밤에 있는 코로나랑 코로나 가르쳐는 생각 가르쳐는 되지로 시전이 가도이나 소소기 자와디 야와르도 누워르도 쓴데 나의 되지로 바이오기 가도이나 도어초를 두고요나 수송을 지로 템바데기 소소 야와 가르쳐봐 있는데 템비 쓰는 마 템보도 어제는 도어 있는 거 도어 이거 땡캔으로 쓰는데 그것도 야와가 데모션을 해야죠.
So, right, is used in reference to introspection. And Geshe was saying the one, so Geshe was associating introspection to, let's say, I'm going to bring that context of good and bad again. I'm going to bring that back into the conversation. And so distinguishing between one's focus or one's action as between good or bad. And then upon noticing that one is straying from good or engaging in bad, kind of keep it, or to bring it back as conscientiousness. So that was what Geshe, yes. So that was what Geshe was sharing. There is a comment, let me just read it. And it says, the explanation on what concentration is, this is from earlier in the session. The explanation on what concentration is in a tantric context. And the example of that as calm abiding and pliancy was clarifying. Thank you. The purpose of introspection is to check if your mind is on the focus, and if not, bring it back to it. So, the purpose of introspection is to check if your mind is on the focus, and if not, bring it back to it.
The object is on the focus, not the object.
Yes, so this was something that was posted, and and then so conscientiousness is payu, so or being careful, being careful, carefulness. Yes.
That's how it gets in Deutsch translated.
Yeah, that is him. Yes, that is him. And so the purpose of introspection is to check if your mind is on the focus, and if not, bring it back to it. Yes. Okay. So we'll stop here for today. We rejoice with everyone's participation, and we'll now dedicate our virtue and merit accumulated in this session. If you could please turn to page 69 in the text. We'll read the dedication of merit together. Let us dedicate our positive energy to the flourishing of Buddha Dharma. Let us dedicate our positive energy to the long life of His Holiness. May His sacred mandalas mind be unharmed by negative intentions and actions. May he and other great masters be successful in fulfilling their dreams and visions for benefiting all sentient beings. Let us dedicate our positive energy to all spiritual communities throughout the world so that they may flourish.
Sincere study, contemplation, and meditation. Let us dedicate
Our positive measure
to the of the problems
in our world, such as famine.
May everyone in this other worlds experience peace, happiness, and harmony.
Let us dedicate our positive energy to ourselves and to other Dharma practitioners so that we may overcome all obstacles to spiritual development. Let us dedicate our positive energy to ourselves and to all sentient beings so that we can purify the obscurations to liberation and omniscience and quickly reach full enlightenment. Thank you, and hope to see you next week. Please read the commentary on verse 9, and then we'll discuss it next week. Thank you.